And welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. And coming up this morning, NDC national organizer escapes violent attacks from angry youth of Ebura Asebu Kwamankese after allegedly going there to campaign against Felix Ofosukwache.
So biara obuti won agbono agbono won fa na won chan nti mpayimfo won fa nsikum na won hwehwe asemim ma Joseph Yamini bibi owo da won ne fa biara won na afa na party asomdwabo mo abra Asebu command.
We have details, plus we speak live to Joseph Yamin for a response. Also this morning, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission urges residents of the Volta region to cooperate with officials as reaffirmation of Ghana's land boundaries with Togo begins today. Details as 3-week exercise involves replacement of damaged boundary pillars. And we'll continue with our discussion on artificial intelligence today when Kobe Spike and Nkrumah joins us in the studio for Tech Talk. We'll bring you details shortly. Many thanks for choosing us. National organizer of the opposition NDC escaped what could have been assault from some youth of the NDC in the Ebura Asebu Kwamankese constituency in the western region. Joseph Yamin is alleged to have entered the area under the cover of darkness using the name of John Maham to campaign against former Deputy Communications Minister Felix Ofosukwache. Felix Ofosukwache is coming up against a professor from the University of Ghana, Nanama Brown Kluche, in the NDC parliamentary primaries in less than 2 weeks. Listen to some angry youth.
What's in there? Young Command yesterday. I was Joseph Mahimido Sabati. What the guy do what I pick up.
I am very angry this evening. We were in town when we heard that Joseph Yamin had come to town with some pickup. We even mobilized to go and meet him. We thought our party leaders were coming to meet us. When we went, we realized that one Nanama Kluche had sent Joseph Yamin to come and lie to us that John Mahama wants us to vote against Felix Ofosukwache. The things Felix Ofosukwache has done for us in this constituency, very valuable to us. They are very lucky we did not meet them here. They would have seen what would have happened to them.
Sister, the Marbury survey, BBC,
the youth are very angry. For a leader like Yamin to behave like this is very irresponsible. What if something bad happened to them when they came? We don't want this to happen again. If he knows how to campaign, he should stay in Kumasi and campaign. We need more seats there. We are begging him. He should never repeat this. The youth in Mori are very angry and are ready to go all out for Felix Ofosukwache following that 2020 defeat. The party leaders must stamp the authority and deal with this issue.
Joseph Yamini bibi owo da won ne fa biara won na afa na party asomdwabo mo abra Asebu command.
Been joined on the phone by Joseph Yamin to respond to some of the claims. I'm grateful for your time, sir. Is it true that you went to Ebura Asebu Kwamankese to campaign against Felix Ofosukwache using the name of the former president?
The last time I entered Central Region was on the 4th of April. 4th of April. From the 2nd to the 4th of April, I was in the Central Region for official duty to go and vet potential aspirants for the parliamentary election. Since I left Central Region on the 4th of April, I've never been to Central Region before. In fact, the whole of yesterday I was in Ashanti region. As I speak now, I'm in Nyane, heading to the north. So I'm surprised hearing this kind of news. In fact, I first heard it from your sister station, Adam. And I'm getting details of it from your network now. I'm playing the voice you just played. I'm surprised why they would want to do such a thing. As far as I'm concerned, I've not even gone anywhere to campaign for any parliamentary aspirant, not to talk of using John Mohammed's name to campaign for a particular person. So I don't know what really is influencing the action they took, which is bad in the first place.
Well, as a national organizer, after this came to your notice and knowing that you haven't even been there, what kind of information have you picked as to what exactly happened and who they're actually referring to as you?
As I speak now, I called the police to find out what it is. They say they've arrested 3 persons in connection with what happened yesterday. I also received a call from the regional deputy secretary who gave me the information that he had a call that I was held hostage or whatever in the constituency, which I told him wasn't true because he knows where I am now. So I was talking to the regional chairman, I was talking to the regional organizer. I also called the professor who is contesting with Felix to find out what the real issue was. And that they were in the constituency as part of the normal campaign round to talk to some delegates. And they had some commotion outside the venue, only for them to find out that their cars have been vandalized, and the people were saying that I was around with them meeting some delegates to campaign for her. And so that was what happened. And I laughed in the first place. I didn't even know it was going to travel this far till I started reading from some media houses and websites that I was in the constituency to want to campaign for Professor Nana. In the first place, it's not true, I've not been there. I don't see what is even wrong in going to campaign for somebody if I did that should warrant such an action from persons, supporters to be supporters of fellow party. Then, the information I gathered again was that some young men from Kumasi were in the constituency campaigning for Professor Nanama Brown. And since they were coming from Kumasi, I mean, executives from Ashanti region, they were easily linked to me. I want to find out the names of these persons, and there are persons who are indigenous of Abura Sebu Kwamakesi AAK constituency. And interestingly, these are guys who in 2019 left Kumasi to come and campaign for Felix Ofosu-Kwasi against Professor Nanama Brown, which they were never attacked. So I find it very surprising that if today, the very people who are indigenous of this constituency, who want to see a parliamentary candidate elect for them to fight to win the seat of the constituency again, will be attacked simply because they are doing the direct opposite of what they did in 2019 or some 3 or 4 years back. It's surprising. But finding out again, I realized that these guys were not even around the constituency. I called the check, and they are all in Ashanti region. And they've been in Ashanti region all this while. So I don't know what influenced the action that these guys took. And I've instructed the regional executive to investigate this matter and bring the appropriate sanctions that is supposed to be meted at their action to the table.
Well, in the lead up to your primaries on May 13, it's likely we're going to be recording some of these hiccups. What's the plan to check some of these unfortunate incidents?
Well, so the party's elections are being conducted by the Electoral Commission, and the state security, I'm talking about the police, is to provide security for the election. And so we have given the police all the hotspots and where they have to intensify their supervision and their protection. So we are with the police, and we want to go a step further in ensuring that they give us the needed and maximum security for us to have our program successfully.
I'm grateful for your time. Joseph Yamin is national organizer of the NDC. I must say we've been trying to reach the former Deputy Communications Minister, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, to comment on this, but we've been unsuccessful with that. But we're staying with the Ebura Asebu-Kwamankese constituency because it's a contest many have described as too close to call. In their last contest in 2019, spokesperson for former President Mahama, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, beats Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche in the primaries for the AAK constituency, but lost by 176 votes to the NPP candidate in the national election. While Felix believes there's no need to change a candidate that almost won the national election, Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche is of the view that she's lived in the constituency all her life and knows the needs of the people better. Richard Kwejonyako has more.
The Abra Asebu-Kwamankese constituency has fallen to the National Democratic Congress more than it has to the New Patriotic Party. Since 1992, the NDC has grabbed 5 out of the 8 contests that have been done. But the presence of the spokesperson for former President John Dramani Mahama has attracted huge interest.
I made the first attempt and I came quite close. I lost by a measly 176 votes, which is mighty close. So if a candidate comes that close in an election, it only makes sense that you repeat that candidate.
Felix Ofosu speaks of why he is the best bet for the constituents.
Because there's no point going to reinvent the wheel and starting from scratch. The amount of resources and effort that go into marketing a candidate from scratch is enormous. So we have done a chunk of the work in 2020, and therefore there's no need to burden ourselves with even more work. We just need to do a little more to improve upon the fortunes that we took in 2024. And I am confident that this second attempt will offer a unique opportunity to the constituents and inhabitants of the Abra Asebu-Kwamankese constituency to give me an opportunity to offer effective and efficient leadership and representation in Parliament, so that the most pressing concerns of this deprived constituency are brought to the front burner, so that immediate and urgent attention is paid, so that there will be an improvement in the developmental status of this constituency and the general well-being of the people of this constituency.
In 2019, he burst onto the scene and beat Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche in a fiercely contested battle. Felix is coming up against a professor of physics, a huge towering figure in academia, and a grassroots person.
I have contested him before, but the dynamics this year tilts in my favor. I know I'll win by a huge margin.
Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche lost narrowly in the primaries in 2019 to Felix Ofosu. She says she's lived in the constituency, knows the needs of the constituent better than the contender, and can better represent the people.
Delegates,
The gathering in my house shows the kind of love the delegates have for me. Everyone here has a vote in the primaries. Once they have come here, I know they love me and they'll vote for Professor Nana Ama Brown Kute. I know they have the belief and the confidence in me that should they vote for me, I will cause the needed change in this constituency. I grew up here and I am pleading with the delegates to vote for someone who knows the needs of the people.
Well, the upcoming primaries will determine whether Felix gets the nod to represent the NDC in the Abra Sebu Kwamankasi constituency or Professor Nanama Brown Kluche will steal the show. Already, the two do not want to leave the constituency for anything as they want to avoid surprises. They appear to be engaged in campaigns of their lives. JoyNews, Abra Sebu Kwamankasi.
Where to stay on this May 13 is your election headquarters here at JoyNews. So other stories, a joint technical committee made up of officials from the Ghana Boundary Commission and the Land Boundary Commission of Togo is beginning a 3-week exercise today along the international boundary line between the two countries, speaking at the joint Ghana-Togo community sensitization program at Agotemekbetoy in the Volta region. The national coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotie, said the exercise is important to prevent disputes over land boundaries. He is urging residents to cooperate with the team that will be engaged in the reaffirmation exercise. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
Some students of the Agotimas Yope SHS singing at the sensitization program that brought together opinion and traditional leaders, residents living along the international boundary line between Ghana and Togo, government officials, school children, and more. The sensitization exercise aims to make residents living around the Agotimas Yope section of the Ghana-Togo international boundary line aware of the replacement of the boundary pillars by the Joint Land Boundary Reaffirmation Technical Committee from the 5th to the 27th May. Speaking at the program, the national coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotie, urged residents to cooperate with the team for a successful exercise.
A technical committee, a joint technical committee between Ghana and Togo Boundary Commission is going to undertake this exercise from tomorrow, and this committee will be identifying all tempered, removed, or destroyed boundary pillars within the demarcated line. Let me stress, within the demarcated line. We are not going to redemarcate the boundary. The old boundary stay, but we are going to identify the boundary pillars that are destroyed, that has been tempered, that has been removed. The aim of the reaffirmation is to replace all tempered, destroyed, and removed boundary pillars. In addition to this, we've realized that most of the population along the border communities sometimes have a difficulty of identifying where the boundary line is. And for that matter, sometimes they stray without them knowing into the territory of another country or another state. And for that matter, we'll be discussing with our counterparts from Togo to introduce additional pillars, which will be called intermediary pillars, border crossing pillars, and monumental pillars along towns, so that it will be very easy for the population living along, or the communities living along the boundaries, to identify the boundary line and also to help us protect the boundary line. We would require, therefore, from traditional leaders, opinion leaders, to help us educate the population along the communities that, one, they'll be seeing a team going around these boundaries within the next 3 weeks. They should cooperate with them, they should give them the necessary support, they should give them the necessary information that they require, and that we are redefining the boundaries by reaffirming to replace boundary pillars, but that we're not redemarcating the boundary pillar, and that is a very important point.
He says the reaffirmation exercise will also help prevent disputes between the two countries.
Importance is clearly to make sure that there is no doubt so far as the international boundary line is concerned. Secondly, to ensure that the disputes don't arise out of minor disagreements on the boundary demarcations between the two countries.
Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in charge of Lands and Forestry, Benito Usubiu, says most of the boundary markings that define the land boundary between Ghana and Togo, among others, have been destroyed by environmental and human factors,
such as erosion, tampering, or outright removals. Effects of these have been the eruption of conflicts in many communities along the international boundary line. My dear chiefs and people, we are all one people with shared cultural and social beliefs and even family ties. These similarities are what should define us as a people and not the invincible boundaries created years back. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my profound gratitude to the Ghana Boundary Commission and the National Land Boundary Commission of Togo for the good work they are undertaking for their respective countries. I was very pleased when news reached me on efforts to coordinate today's sensitization activity, as I am well aware of the impact that this will have in ensuring the overall peace and unity and security of all communities. I want to utilize this opportunity to commend both commissions for their dedication towards ensuring the proper management and safeguarding of the Ghana-Togo land boundary. I encourage you to continue with the good work. Major General, just yesterday I received a letter from the President of the Republic of Ghana congratulating you for the good work that you are doing. Kindly continue with that work.
Well, this morning we are continuing our conversation on artificial intelligence. We started yesterday. My colleague Kobe Spike Nkrumah has joined me in the studio for more. Yesterday we talked about AI's impact on business, technology industry. Today we're looking at its impact on education. First, let's look at what it brings on board as far as the education sector is concerned.
So there's a lot that AI contributes when it comes to education. Some of them would be in favor of the educational system, some would be in favor of the students. So we'll start off with the system itself. As a teacher, you'd be more concerned with how your students are doing, how much attention they're paying in class, and is able to tell whether they are paying attention, whether they are distracted, whether they are tired. And
we've improved on robotics in secondary schools and all of that, but definitely there's more we need to do as far as AI is concerned. But also, yesterday we spoke about the risk involved in AI. Even though we agree it's much beneficial, I mean, there are enormous benefits to industry and all other sectors. What are the ethical considerations of the development and use of AI?
So ethically, most of the problems people consider when it comes to AI is data privacy.
Yeah.
So for instance, with the school example that we're looking at right now, imagine that your child's grades are being shared with the whole student population and compete. You find your children in the same space with children from the West, and they can't compete. And mind you, we have reiterated more than enough that the world has become a global village. So you can't expect that just because you're in Ghana, you don't have to be on the same level as somebody in, let's say, in America.
Yeah.
You will have to be, because companies from the West are coming, to these parts. You don't want them exporting their talent here. You want them to use the talent here to build whatever solutions they're building. We want to build our solutions and export them out there.
Yep.
But when we don't have the skills, we don't have the technology, we have such a digital literacy gap between the developing countries and the developed countries. It's going to be very difficult for us, and that divide will widen with the kind of investments all these countries are making.
So from the way artificial intelligence is going, what do you envisage in the next 5 to 10 years as far as developing countries are concerned, not even developed worlds?
Well, luckily for us, there's always, now, because we have access to all this information, it's helping us catch up. And I use that sparingly because in as much as we know, what are we doing? So we trust that most of our leaders are investing in digitalization and digitization to help us catch up with the West. And the advantage is that we are going to learn some of these new things. We're going to implement them. The risk or the fear is that we may be leaving some behind, you know, because in Accra, for instance, yes, I'm here, you're here, we know about these things. Let's just go a few kilometers outside of the country. How many of them know about these things? How many of them even have access to internet, first of all, to learn about the new and emerging technologies to help them catch up? Then before we're going to roll it out to the whole country. So for me, that's where I think the focus really should be. We need to help we need to carry everyone along. So it's not just a select few who have access to the technology or the knowledge. And by so doing, the whole country wins.
A lot of information this morning. Spike in Kurma with Tech Talk. Thank you so much for bringing us Tech Talk. And if you didn't know about AI, now you know, and you know the impact in the various sectors, the business, industry, education, workforce, and you've also been told the benefits and risk of AI. You can read more about it because whether you like it or not, it's coming to you and you must embrace it. Let's move on to other stories. Asante Hene Otumfuo Seitu II is joining royalty from across the world for the coronation of King Charles III in the United Kingdom. Otumfuo and his spouse, Lady Julia, were received at the Buckingham Palace where they had a private audience with the king ahead of the coronation. Monarchical historian teacher Safo Kantanka says the events in the UK will solidify the relations between the two kingdoms as well as the two countries. Nana Boachi Adam has more.
The Asante Hene departed Kumasi to the United Kingdom for the coronation of King Charles III on Wednesday. King Charles will be crowned alongside Camilla, Queen Consort, at a ceremony at Westminster Abbey conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Royalty from around the world is expected to be in attendance, including the Asante Hene Otumfuo Seitu II and his wife, Lady Julia. Teacher Safo Kantanka, a cultural historian at the Menchia Palace, highlights the relationship between the Asante Kingdom and the United Kingdom.
So, in the first place, both are kingdoms. But the relationship has been something of bitter and sweet. Bitter in the days when the Ashantis were fighting seriously against the British. It is believed that they have fought the British for well over 100 years. That is when they were a kingdom of their own in Africa, before the Europeans settled for partitioning Africa. And at the time when the Europeans were trying to partition Africa and share it among themselves, there was one nation called the Asante Kingdom that never gave in. And they fought a number of wars with the British, in some cases even defeated the British. It is believed they fought the British. 7 major wars was fought between the Ashantis and the British, of which the Ashantis won 3 and the British 4. Even the 4, the Ashantis believe that the last one, which was the Asantwa War, was still won by the Ashantis because the aim of the war was for the British to capture the Golden Stool, which they were unable to capture, although they defeated the Ashantis in the battle or in the war. But the very aim of the war went in favor of the Ashantis because the British never got the Golden Stool.
According to teacher Kantanka, the relationship between both kingdoms improved after several decades of war.
I think so, because when somebody has given you a tough time, even if you win, you tend to respect that person. So the respect given to the Ashantis, it's somehow due to the very tough time they gave the British. Ashanti history has been woven into the British one. and vice versa. So you cannot mention the British Kingdom's history without Ashanti coming in. And you cannot mention Ashanti Kingdom's history without Britain coming in. So anytime they go back to their books, they are reminded that there is a nation which has been bounded to them for very many years, in which case every invitation they decide to give to people, they include the Ashanti people.
The Asantehine's representation at the coronation of King Charles is to solidify the bilateral relations of both kingdoms.
Whatever is going to take place there is taking place for the benefit of Ghana, led by the Ashanti King.
So finally, the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei II and his spouse, Lady Julia, arrived at the Buckingham Palace. The Asantehene and his spouse had a private audience with the king ahead of his coronation. The Asantehene is expected to return in 2 weeks' time after further strengthening the bilateral relations of both kingdoms, i.e. the Ashanti Kingdom and the United Kingdom. For JoyNews, my name is Nana Boachidankwayadom.
And in this week's edition of Climate Focus, JoyNews, Mohammed Nuruddin Mohammed visited 2 settlements in the Savannah region to hear the struggles of some women engaged in shared nut gathering and reports poor weather conditions are affecting their cultivations. They are now having to cut down their shared trees. Here's the concluding part of that report put together by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
I have 6 children, and I take care of them by producing charcoal. This contributes to meeting our most basic needs. Except for the charcoal production and firewood, I don't have any work. We used to handpick shea, but the trees no longer produce fruit.
Salia Attica is a resident who also helps her grandmother sell firewood.
It is wrong to cut down trees because they protect us from the wind. We are, however, compelled to cut them due to hardship. It's been years since the trees haven't produced enough fruit, and some are dying. The only work we do as women is gather shea nuts and sell them. But because they are no longer bearing fruits, we cut them and use the money to support our families.
Here is Hajia Alima Sagito Said, Executive Director of the Savannah Women Integrated Development Agency.
During the share season, you can get women picking on average up to 385 kg bag of shea nuts. Some can pick more. Currently, a bag in the open market is sold for 600. That's 85 kg. If averagely a woman is able to pick 3 bags, then you are looking at a woman that would have been earning extra 1,800 cedis from the share. And this goes to so much for the woman, because a lot of women who are into farming practically are hardly able to save up 1,800.
According to Hajia Said, share is cocoa or gold for women of the north, employing about 1 million people. The loss of this natural tree will be a grave injustice to women.
It's also our gold mine. That's our cocoa. The industry employs about 1 million women. And in this industry, all these women see that business as complementary income for their households. Not relying and working on the share means that you would have been denying these 1 million people livelihoods. You would have been denying people education. Because have been in international forums where even politicians in the north say that but for share, probably they wouldn't have completed school.
The share tree grows mostly in the wild, and residents say no one owns it because it germinates, grows on its own, and has no natural enemies. It is estimated that Ghana was home to about 9.4 million share trees, which could potentially yield 100 tons of share nut worth about $100 million per year.
The share nut tree is an economic tree in the northern region.
Clement Matumasin is the executive director for Dream Village, a regenerative agriculture that promotes biological diversity.
This has become so dominant that even people cut down share nut trees to process share butter. It brings the question, what is the future for a lot of these women who use it as an economic tree? The northern region has one of the highest quality share nut that is being produced, and unfortunately this diminishing situation of cutting down the trees is also affecting how much share nuts can be produced in the north.
According to Clement, the alarming number of dying share trees requires immediate attention.
So this is an alarming problem that we all need to be concerned. We have spoken to a lot of chiefs to try to put a ban on the cutting down of trees in general, but it's also the constant burning of the share nut trees that is preventing new share nuts.
Even though share is a fire resistance plant, but definitely consistency weakens the natural fruiting ability. So we are aware that it's not working the way it should be. The volumes are reducing and we need to take action. So for us, we have a number of savings groups that are also share pickers. So in a number of our interventions, we've been raising the issues with them to be able to see what other things they can do instead of just relying so much on charcoal as an alternative. So we are introducing a number of climate-friendly agricultural interventions to them.
What needs to be done specifically will be policy changes, that we make general policies that stops people from cutting down these trees. Apart from that is providing solutions. Introduce biogas system using cow manure, using even human fecal stands, even just...
The share industry is our cocoa industry, those of us in the north. And those of us who are into women empowerment, we see it as a very sustainable and a very sure, guaranteed way of providing alternative source of income for women. So it is an industry we don't want to negotiate. It is an industry that we are calling on government and policy makers and implementers to see it as it is, value it as it is. It can turn around the fortune of the north and also the country.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Take a break on JoyNews Desk. When we return, there's more in business.
Hello, welcome to business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, says it is working to secure a decent future for workers after retirement. Bono Regional Manager William Ohineji says the authority will prosecute institutions that continue to default in the payment of workers' pension contributions. He issued a warning when he led a task force to visit some institutions in Sunyani. Pesho Semevo has more.
PRA task force to check payment of Senate and Tier 2 contributions of workers in Sunyani as part of the Workers' Day celebrations included Senate officials and some pension trustees. Penal Glory International School, like J. Adom Limited, showed receipt of up-to-date payment of all pension contributions of their workers. Muhammad Mubarak Ampofo is the financial controller of the construction company, J. Adom Limited.
We know our road construction, because of delay in payment, we were having issues of paying the Tier 2. I spoke to my boss and we decided to pay up to date the amount we are owing from 2019 up to the current year, the current month, so that anyone who is attaining the retirement age can get their lump sum or their benefit from the Senate.
The team, however, detected that the Tier 2 payments in particular are in default at Baksol, Kasbi International School, Pribet Shopping Mall, Glamose Hotel, McChill Educational Complex, and Goyle Filling Station near the Jubilee Park in Sunyai, whose manager Joe Bennett angrily drove off because the team did not pre-inform him of their visit. William Ohinie J is the Bono manager of the NPRA.
You have employed people here. They are working for you, you are getting profits. Just pay their contribution for them too is a problem. Anytime we come here, he'll give excuses. Just give you, insult you and go away just like that. You saw it to yourself. Don't be surprised when by next month you'll be prosecuted. This is not the first time. If he's not fighting for them, we will fight for the employees. This is Goyle, that same Goyle that was closed some time ago. Issues with NPA. It's having issues with NPRA too. So you can see the kind of person he is.
He said they will prosecute defaulters after the window to correct the wrongs to secure a decent future for the workers.
The reason why we went out is to ascertain their pension contributions and to also appreciate them very well and to let people, the institutions that we have not visited, be aware that in fact we are moving henceforth from every institution. So if you are not contributing, you better start contributing. We met some people who knew or who knows that indeed they have defaulted and are ready to comply. We have given them up to the 14th day of the month. That's enrollment should be done and payment should be done as well. If they don't comply, we are going to prosecute them as we indicated. The lists will be sent by close of this month.
Mr. J also urged workers to help them fight for their future.
If you are in an organization where your employer is not willing to contribute, just come to NPRA, just give us a clue. We will go there as we went today. We didn't give them any prior notice. So we have the right to check, make sure they comply.
Precious Semevo, Joy Business, Sunyai.
Now, government is targeting 10% penetration of renewable energy into Ghana's electricity mix by 2030 through the implementation of its Renewable Energy Master Plan. But the country's shift to greener and cleaner energy mix is bereft of women and youth inclusivity at the leadership and implementation levels. Now, 350 Ghana Reducing Our Carbon, a not-for-profit environmental youth network, is leading the charge to educate women who are major users of household energy on the adoption of renewable energy. There is more in this report.
That nearly 30% of households live in energy poverty, with the majority of the affected families situated in developing countries. These impacts restrict access to education and economic opportunities for girls and women, and disproportionately exposing them to health risks. Ghana is yet to harness its available natural resources for energy production, as many households resort to traditional and environmentally harmful energy sources. The country's renewable energy use is nearly 2%. Ashanti Regional Coordinator of 350 Ghana Reducing Our Carbon, John Ijekum Kofo, believes early exposure of women could accelerate Ghana's 10% renewable energy penetration target.
So 350 is actually working hand in hand with the community, the schools, the churches, and then even traditional leaders to educate and sensitize the people in the community, to sensitize women groups on the need for them to adopt and transit to solar energy, and then also to actually get a full benefit of their adaptation into renewable energy.
The consequences of the changing climate adversely impact the global south, especially in Africa. According to the United Nations Environment, 80% of people displaced by climate change are women. National Coordinator of 350 Ghana Reducing Our Carbon, Portia Edumensa, says climate action is a must for all.
As country members or as fellow citizens, it's important for us to be able to be part of these conversations and help in achieving that. A lot of factors have been put in place in achieving this. And I think that as advocates, we are also having our take in taking it to the grassroots for them to also be part of the climate solutions, because it's all about the issues related to loss and damage. We need to understand what it is and how it's impacting us.
Government in 2019 established the Climate Change Learning Program to accelerate youth empowerment for climate change mitigation and solutions. Head of STEM education in the Ashanti region, Adams Youssef, reiterated the essentialities of integrating climate-based learning into school curriculum.
Currently, one of the most topical issues around is climate change. So at their age, if we are able to introduce them to the effect of climate change, then I think it will make an impact on them. And then the measures taken to curb or reduce it will start from them because they are the future leaders.
Some students shared benefits of the program.
So I think that as students, it's very good for us to get to know more about climate change because as students, we are the future. We are the ones going to represent the entire world.
So if we are educated and we grow up to come and take up their place, we will know the need to do it right. And we have to start from now because, I mean, when you practice makes perfect. So when you start from childhood and you grow up, you become perfect with managing everything related to climate.
For JoyNews, Emmanuel Kweku reporting.
And that's it for Business. News Desk returns after this break.
And that's how we wrap up Joy News Desk this morning. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories for you. See you again at 12.